Hey there, LBT Squad. I'm your host, Alex Pop, and we're getting closer to the release of the 14th installment in the Land Before Time franchise. And leading up to that, I'm reviewing every one of its predecessors. And we've now come to 1996's The Land Before Time 4 Journey Through the Mist. Despite being released 1 year apart, this movie and The Time of the Great Giving were actually filmed simultaneously, and some evidence of that is in the VHS copy of The Time of the Great Giving, as it contains a music video preview of Journey Through the Mist, with the movie song It Takes All Sorts playing over various scenes from the movie. Now, Journey Through the Mist was actually planned to be the third movie, but for whatever reason was pushed back 1 year. I can only assume that Roy Allen Smith wanted to save the best of the trilogy for last. Indeed, Journey Through the Mist is my favorite of all of the sequels. It is everything that a Land Before Time movie should be, and I'll tell you all the reasons why. And once again, these are in-depth reviews, so spoiler alert. The movie opens with the narrator telling us that the dinosaur world is experiencing dramatic climate changes and environmental transformations, but yet it all has had no effect on the Great Valley. I guess maybe the Great Valley is the Garden of Eden. In the Great Valley, Littlefoot and his grandparents go to welcome a longneck herd that have just migrated in. They are greeted by the leader of the herd, an old longneck known as Old One. What a very flattering way to be addressed. She tells the residents of how their old home had gone through all of the dramatic changes that the narrator brought up, which turned it into a marshland known as the Land of Mist, and became the home of many predatory creatures. Since then, they have consistently moved from place to place every few days. Old One makes an offer for the Great Valley Longnecks to join them when they leave, but Grandpa Longneck turns it down, believing that the Great Valley will never change the way that the Land of Mist did. As Littlefoot and his friends go off to play again, Littlefoot runs into Allie, a female Longneck his age from the herd. They have this kind of meet-cute scene that still appeals to the most childishly sappy part of me. They introduce themselves, and then she immediately tags him it by pecking him on the cheek, and he's like, "Whoa, what just happened?" Can't help but always smile at that bit. So Littlefoot introduces Allie to Sarah, Duckie, Petrie, and Spike, but she's very shy around them, having never associated with any other species outside of longnecks. And when taking into account what the dinosaurs were like at the start of the first movie, it makes sense that racism still occurs beyond the Great Valley. Still eager to have a friend, Allie invites Littlefoot to play, while Sarah just writes her off as stuck-up. That evening, as Littlefoot walks Allie back to her herd, they find the Longnecks standing around Grandpa, who has become ill. Old One diagnoses it as a fatal disease, and that the single cure is eating the petals of the night flower, which only grows in the Land of Mist. She warns that the danger is too great to take any risk. Though none of the Land Before Time sequels have triggered as much emotion as the first movie, the following scene is where they come closest. Grandpa tells Littlefoot that he may not be there for him if the Great Valley does change, and he has Littlefoot promise him that he and Grandma would go with the migrating herd if something should happen to him. What makes this scene even stronger is when Littlefoot denies what his grandma says about it being part of the circle of life. You have to think back to the Great Valley adventure when Littlefoot says the same thing to Duckie. It can be easy to tell someone that they should accept tragedy as part of life, but when tragedy strikes you, it's hard to accept it yourself. And for Littlefoot it's even harder because his mother died before, and now his grandpa is about to go too. So Grandma then sings to him about how the great circle of life goes on, and how it benefits everyone. And I'll also add that during this scene, there's a pterodactyl hatchling who starts to cry while listening to the song. And I didn't think of this when I was a kid, but watching it again I started to think, is that the same young pterodactyl who offered Littlefoot his cherry in the first movie? If so, then nice Easter egg. So to the surprise of no one in the audience, Littlefoot decides to venture out that night to find the night flower and save his grandfather. He wakes up Allie and asks her to lead him to the Land of Mist. She agrees on the condition that Sarah, Duckie, Petrie, and Spike don't come along. As the two make their way, they come across the first landmark that Allie remembers, a double rainbow over a waterfall, and this is one of a half-dozen exquisite shots of unique environment in this movie, which also include a star-filled night sky seen from a cave entrance, and an aerial view of the Land of Mist, a single frame that could counter the first shot of the Great Valley from the first movie. So Littlefoot and Allie enter a cave behind the waterfall that would lead them straight to the Land of Mist. But Littlefoot's shouting causes a cave-in, and the two get separated by a rock wall. Allie knows that she can't clear the rocks herself, and decides that the others will have to help her free Littlefoot, and she goes back to get them. Now it does make sense for Allie to do this to save Littlefoot's life, but other than that, she doesn't really seem to have much motivation to get help from the ones that she was too scared to be around. If I could up the ante on this movie at all, it would be to add a scene before Littlefoot and Allie reach the cave, where Littlefoot tells her about how his friends are always there for him at times when he misses his mother, and maybe says to her, "They'd be just as great of friends to you if you gave them the chance." That way, she might have started to rethink what she thought of them, and it would have added something that led to her decision to go back for them. Anyway, Littlefoot tries to find a way out, and meets an old Archelon named Archie, voiced by two-time Oscar nominee Charles Durning. He offers to help Littlefoot dig through the rocks. We then get introduced to Dill and Icky, a prehistoric crocodile and a carnivorous bird, who are a hilarious villain duo. These two have an unlikely partnership, as it's very hard for Icky to kill, and so he needs Dill to nab prey, but Dill has blurred vision and needs Icky to be her eyes. But neither one of them will accept the self-evident truth that they can't live without each other. The voice talents behind these two are perfect. Jeff Bennett as Icky imitates an eccentric fop, while Tress MacNeille takes on the voice of a crabby old woman as Dill. And their argument segues into the wildly amusing hate duet, Who Needs You?, in which they continuously tear each other down with a string of fashionable insults. I remember how my mom would always hate it when my brother and I sang this song to each other. And of course my brother always wanted to do Icky's part just so he could sing the line, "I need you like a kick in the butt." I should point out this one scene that always confused me. Right after Littlefoot gets trapped behind the rock wall, the shot pans over to Dill, who is watching him with a devious look, and then it cuts to another scene. And when it goes back to Dill, she's asking Icky if he's seen any other prey, so why didn't she attack Littlefoot before? Maybe because her vision is blurred, she didn't really see him and was only smiling because she remembered a funny joke? I don't know. So Icky spots Littlefoot and Archie at the rock wall and leads Dill towards them. While they try to escape, Allie and the others dig at the wall from the other side. Sarah manages to slam a huge hole in the wall, causing rocks to fall on Dill and Icky, knocking them out. Littlefoot gets back together with Allie and the others, and during their reunion, there's this moment with Allie where she glances at Sarah, Duckie, Petrie, and Spike individually, and then she sighs, realizing how she had worked so well with 4 other kinds and she barely noticed. I didn't get what the scene was about when I was a kid, but this is the turning point for Allie where she starts to reconsider her opinion of differing species. I like when in kids' movies they can show what a character is feeling without having to just explain in dialogue. So Archie directs them to a cave exit that leads straight out to the Land of Mist, and lets them take it from there. In the Land of Mist, Sarah gets lost in the fog, and the others seek help finding her from a small prehistoric rat, whom Duckie names Tickles. I guess he was added in to give a wider variety of characters for the theme of the movie, but he doesn't do much aside from helping Sarah this once. But when they do find her, Sarah falls into a river and gets pursued by Dill and Icky. As Allie runs down shore to distract the predators, Icky flies straight toward her to attack her. Allie ducks quickly, and Icky ends up getting his neck stuck in a tree, his head sticking out the other side. This leads to a very funny scene where Dill has to bite the tree apart to free Icky, and I won't tell you what the resulting image is, as it's absolutely hysterical, but I will say that the timing and expressions just kill me every time. So Allie does save Sarah, after which Sarah softens toward her, and this prompts what is probably the worst written line in the movie. "Hey guys, you don't have to worry anymore. Allie and me are friends. Yay!" Okay, stay focused, I'm liking this movie. Allie explains her prejudiced behavior to the group, that because her herd migrates so frequently, she has only become acquainted with her own kind. She then tells them that their experiences together have showed her that having interspecies friendships is better, and begins the aforementioned song, It Takes All Sorts. I really love this song because, like Grandma Longneck's song about the circle of life, it specifies a main theme that has run through the series ever since the first movie. And it still resonates with me because this is also the movie that got me open-minded to having interracial friendships. Later, they all agree to stop and rest for a few hours. They wake up to find themselves in a field of night flowers, which bloomed while they slept. This sequence is accompanied by the single most beautiful musical piece from Michael Tavera in the series. And the animation of the night flowers is equally brilliant, with these incredible sparkle effects that are devoid of CGI. Future sequels? Take notes. So the gang stock up on night flowers and they start to make their way back home, but before they can get far, Dill and Icky show up again for one more confrontation. As they run away across a river, Icky grabs Duckie and Petrie flies up to save her, and after a tied game of Duck-a-war, Duckie falls toward the river below where Dill is waiting. Duckie manages to save herself when she's snapped awake by the sound of Spike calling her name. One word, but for the first of extremely rare occasions, Spike speaks. A great moment there. Icky and Dill's threat ends when Dill mistakes Icky for Duckie and nearly eats him. Afterwards, they dismiss each other and they part ways. Meanwhile, the group says goodbye to Tickles. I didn't even mention him since his introduction. Kinda gives you an idea of how needed he was. And they all arrive home that morning in time to give Grandpa Longneck the ripened night flowers. And sure enough, he's healed upon eating them. Later on, Littlefoot and the gang bid Allie farewell as her herd leaves to escape any changes that may follow, and I love the way the last minute of the movie plays out. Littlefoot watches her until she's gone over the wall, having flashbacks to all their times together, and her words, "Maybe we'll all live together someday," echo in his mind. This final scene is comparable to that of the first movie, as in that one, Littlefoot looks back on memories of him and his mother when he makes it to the Great Valley. It really makes you think that there may be something between him and Allie, and I'd like to see the idea be explored in a future installment. I'm just glad that the thought is merely left open in this one. The last shot of the movie is Littlefoot brightening when he looks up to see his grandpa getting up and starting to walk, and the narrator confirms to us that Littlefoot and his friends will meet Allie again, which has only happened in one episode of the TV series. She is still yet to appear in another movie. So yeah, this movie's got its flaws, maybe even some that are bigger than I'd care to confess, but I'm sorry, it's still great. It's no wonder that this is the Land Before Time installment that I watched the most as a kid. I had always found it heartfelt, funny, melodious, spectacular, and even magical. 15 years later, my opinion still stands. The dark elements and themes of life and diversity that it evokes often make it seem like a love letter to fans of the 1988 original. In fact, depending on my mood, there are times when I might consider it my favorite of the whole series. From a critical standpoint, though, I can't say it's better than the original. Still, I could watch it every day and never get tired of it. It has the right amount of humor, tears, lightheartedness, and visual splendor combined into 75 minutes. I'm not passing up the opportunity to give The Land Before Time 4 Journey Through the Mists an A. Even if you're not a fan of The Land Before Time sequels, you have to admit, this one certainly has some understanding of what made the first movie great. Now let's go to 3 comment reviews from LBT Squad members. Christy Carricker said, Journey Through the Mist was one I got very excited about as a kid when I saw that Littlefoot would be meeting a little girl Longneck, though I've got to wonder where all the other kid Longnecks were that were supposed to live in the Great Valley, as his mother had said that there would be many, many young Longnecks for him to play with, XD. Anyway, I thought Allie was a great character, and really wished they would have brought her back in the movies instead of just that one episode in the TV series. The villains Dill and Icky were a bit annoying, but not nearly as bad as Hip and the Bullies. Overall, I give the movie a B-. Does anyone else find it strange that Icky is holding a pair of binoculars on the video cover? Lol. XO_Princess Kiara_XO said, I loved The Land Before Time 4. I loved the young interest between Littlefoot and Allie that made me hope one day they'd be a couple. A-. Mikey1393 Drago said, For me, Journey Through the Mist has a few more dark scenes than the Great Valley Adventure. The best scenes are all the close calls on the youngsters from Dill and Icky, as well as, in my opinion, the most action-paced scene with Sarah in the Rapids. The plot is on par with the original and gives the impression that adventure can be very dangerous in unknown locations. Allie is also my favorite character in this movie, and I would like to see her in the new movie. Overall, I give the fourth movie in the series an A+. I received 12 comments total, and all of your grades averaged out to an A-. You thought it was excellent. I fell behind schedule a bit because of my recent trip to Arizona to get my new car, and with the release of The Land Before Time 14 getting closer, I'm going to have to bring out these reviews more rapidly. So stick around soon for my review on The Land Before Time 5, The Mysterious Island. To share your opinion on this movie, leave a review as well as your letter grade in the comments below and have them featured in the video. That's a wrap for now. If you liked this and you want to see more, slap the like button, subscribe for future videos, and follow us on Facebook. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Alex Pop. Catch you later. In case you were wondering, what Christy said in her comment is actually correct. The original VHS cover for Journey Through the Mist really does feature Icky holding a small pair of binoculars. Intentional gag or anachronistic blunder? You be the judge.